Hello and welcome to Stronger My Community. This is season 4, episode 8. Wow, I cannot believe we are more than halfway through this season of Stronger My Community. It has been such an incredible journey. I've had so many incredible conversations, and I am so freaking excited for today's conversation, and more importantly, today's guest. Rachel Morgan is a sales coach, and she specializes in retail sales. But she's also one of my biz besties, and she's just an incredible, sweet human being. She knows so much about sales, so much about just, community and networking, and I cannot wait for you guys to get to know her and learn a little bit about sales by learning from Rachel. So let's bring Rachel on really quick and let's talk about networking and sales and how they really go hand in hand. Let's bring her on. Let's see.
I'm
Okay.
here.
Hello. Hi, how are
Hello.
you?
I am so good. Happy November.
I cannot believe it's November
I know.
already.
I know.
I think the last time that you and I went live was like last summer, so, or no, actually
I
we went live this winter, but
was it it's been almost a year. Yeah.
I don't know. We talk every day, so it doesn't
Yep.
really make a difference.
Right, right.
Um,
Yes. See, networking got us a biz bestie, right? So we talk every day.
exactly. Exactly. So I was just starting to introduce you to everyone, but I
hmm
know that you have been through a couple different pivots and a couple of
Yeah.
changes. So why don't you introduce us, tell us what you're all about, and then we'll get
Yes.
into it.
Well, for everyone that's tuning in and listening, I am a retail sales coach. So I work with retailers and their sales teams to help them maximize their foot traffic, to keep the teams motivated and directly increase sales. So, it sounds a little bit different. Everyone's like, "What's a retail sales coach?" It's working with retailers directly and helping them increase their sales. So, hello, and everyone jumping on, please say hello. Stephanie and I love conversations. So if anything comes up while we're chatting, please do share your questions. We want to make sure to address them and answer them for you and say hello.
Absolutely. Yes, and of course, also drop where you're from, where you're tuning in from, and whatever comes up for you. So we live across the country from one another, but
We do.
like through the power of networking and just having amazing conversations, um, I feel like I know you. I feel like I've known you my whole
Yeah.
life, and it has been so powerful, not just for me as a person, but in my business to have somebody to always be able to turn to
Yep.
just talk to about whatever I'm struggling with or what I need help with. So
Right.
I would love for you to kind of expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of explain our situation, Stephanie and I met in a class. She lives in New York. I live in Seattle. So we've never met before. But we have bonded and connected and really got to know each other. And from there, we became friends. We have each other's phone numbers. We chat all the time. She's a biz bestie. And I know that if we were ever in person, we would be best friends as well in person. So there's something
Absolutely.
really special and powerful about connecting further with people and getting to know them on a much deeper than surface level um, place. And so, like, I'm really excited. We're going to chat more about that today, like how to really get to that point. You don't have to be biz besties with everyone that you meet, but how do you
Right.
really get to know the people that you're interacting with?
Absolutely. So I'm curious, like, I don't even remember when we started calling each other biz besties. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, it did.
Um, but like for somebody just starting out in the online business or even just starting their business in general, maybe they have like a retail shop or a pop-up, whatever it is that they do. It can feel really scary and really
Mm-hmm.
lonely to have a business. So
Yeah.
what would be the first thing that you would say to somebody who like has no idea where to start, no idea how to start connecting with people? Like what's a good strategy?
Yeah. Well, so before we dive into that, this is going to relate. I want to make sure that we understand what networking is because I actually had this conversation with someone yesterday. Networking is literally expanding your network of people that are in your
Hmm.
circle that you know of. So it's literally meeting new people, right? It's not cold pitching or cold DMing. It's not sending that email like, hey, I could really help you, or I would love to connect with you further and put you in my network. It's none of those kind of messages. It's really just like meeting people. And I think oftentimes when we go into networking, we go into it with this thought like, I'm going to find a customer here and I'm going to make a sale. And I think
Right.
it feels very transactional and it's very apparent whether we realize it or not. And it comes through our body language, the
Right.
way that we interact with people, the way that we stand, our tone, um, the words that we use, how we make people feel, right? And so when we go into it without expectation and aiming to learn about people and to connect with people, again, your body language changes, right? And so to relate that now to your question, when we think about networking as an opportunity to meet new people,
Hmm.
I think that changes how we interact with people online as well. And the questions that we ask, the conversations that we have in DMs, a lot of us feel like we waste our time by having conversations like, oh, it's not leading anywhere. I'm getting friend zoned. But it's okay to have friends because I can tell you that when I'm building trust with people in the DMs, a year later, maybe when I am ready, I know who I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to that person that I've built that connection with. I'm not going to go to the
Right.
person who sent me the cold DM and asked for my service or the new person that I've been chatting with for a week. It sometimes takes a little bit of time. And
Right.
so, if you really want to like not feel lonely and start finding some friends, just start talking to people and start connecting and start asking about them and start having conversations and don't go into it with expectations. Just go into it like this is a person. I want to know more
Right.
about them, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's such a great point because, even if nothing comes out of it, maybe you just start to get to know someone else, like you start to
Mm-hmm.
build confidence with starting those conversations. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that just by showing interest and just by asking questions and reaching out and building your network,
Mm-hmm.
you start to build confidence when you are ready to start having those kind of networking conversations. Because, like you said, when I'm ready to hire a coach or when I'm ready to
Mm-hmm.
start reaching out to build my client network, I'm not going to reach out to the people that I've never had a conversation with first. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to reach out to the people that are cold DMing me. I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
blocking those people, to be honest.
Right,
Um,
right.
but I think that it's so important to start like stretching that muscle right
Mm-hmm.
from the get-go. So if you're popping into somebody's DMs and starting conversations with, hey, like I love your profile, would you like a coach? Like stop for a second and ask yourself, how can
Right.
I treat the person on the other side of this like a human being? Like literally that's all you have to do.
Right. And I think we forget what it's like to be on the other side. Like, okay, like I always like to put this in perspective. When you are in person,
Right.
right? In person networking is a really powerful thing. We can chat about that too. But are you
Right.
really going to walk up to people and be like, hey, this is what I do. This is my service. Do you need my help? Right? Probably not. You might.
Right.
It does happen. Um, or like think about like the kiosks at the mall that are like, oh, your hair is so beautiful. Ooh, you should try this product. It'll make it even more beautiful, right? And you're like, what? Like
Right.
it's the same online, and I think we forget that sometimes how we come across or how it feels. Um,
Right.
but the people that are, hey, how's your day? Like, what brought you to the networking event today? Tell me more about you. Like, that really like take a moment to take interest and get to learn you. It makes such a difference. Or even when you're going
Right.
shopping and you have that associate, like, hey, welcome in. Like, how's your day going? Like, it's such a different vibe, and we forget about that online so much, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I would walk past, somebody on the streets of New York City, like,
Mm.
hey,
Yeah.
you look like you want to listen to my CD. I'm like, I don't know what about me looks like that, but I don't. Like, if that same
Yeah.
person had said something like, hey, like, how's your day going? I don't know if I would necessarily talk to them, but I'm a
Hmm.
lot more likely to give them the time of day. I'm a lot more likely to give them my attention.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I think that's a really good point that you touched on. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit,
Hmm.
um, and start to talk a little bit about, when a conversation actually gets started.
Hmm.
Um, you touched on this a little bit. What is the best way to start the conversation? So once somebody gathers the courage to actually start, like, how do we start it?
Well, so I mean, are we talking about online or in person?
I think,
I can
I
answer
think,
both.
yeah, I think let's answer both just because I think our communities are a little bit of both.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure. So if we were talking about online, I think it's just really important to say hello. And I would not just say hello. I think it's okay to kind of speak the intention of reaching out. So whenever, like for example, I have a new follower, I say,
hmm,
hey, I'm Rachel. It's really so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. This is kind of like I talk about sales a lot. I'm so glad you're a part of this journey with me. And then I try to ask something kind of relevant. So whether that's
right,
looking at their profile and I'm like, oh hey, noticed you also have a dog. Like so cute. I have a dog. Like, how old is your dog or something? Or maybe like Halloween just passed. You can be like, how was your Halloween? Did you get a lot of
right,
candy? Like, what's your favorite treat? Like, you know, I would avoid complimenting just a compliment. Like, if you
right,
genuinely see something, I think that your words will show that you're genuine about it.
right,
But just start the conversation. Just say hello. Don't go into it like, hey, here's what I do. Don't switch your pivot in like two messages in, right? Don't
right.
ask the how's your business doing because frankly, like no one
Oh,
wants to tell someone that. Even in retail, when customers came in and they're like, how's your business doing? I didn't want to tell them. Like, it's none of their business. Like, who
right,
cares? Like, so those questions are just icky. Like, don't ask them. Just try to, think about when you're meeting a friend, right? Like, what would you ask them? What do you want to know? Literally like a friend. And if we're in person, I think about like I just attended a networking event and I was like, hey, I'm Rachel. Like, it's so nice to meet you. Like, what's your name? Like, who do you work for? Like, tell me a little bit more about you. Like, what brought you here tonight? And then just started asking a lot of questions about them and taking
right.
a lot of interest, like, oh, you do this? That's really cool. Like, how did you get into that? How long have you been doing that for? Like, oh, are you from this area too? Like, there's so many questions you could be asking when you come from this like mindset of being curious instead of trying to pitch them. So, and hey, I'm so
Absolutely.
glad you're here.
Hi there.
Sorry. I know it probably sounds really funny if someone's watching a replay, but hey.
All good. We're all about just
Mm.
connecting with people. So I
Right,
love that.
right.
Um, I think that it is, you make a really good point. I think whether you're talking about in person or online, it's really all about going in with this just
Hmm.
interest in getting to know who the person is. Um, because, even if you ultimately do work together, even if it does evolve into a situation where you collaborate or you partner up or you hire them or they hire you want
Hmm.
to know that you like each other. Nobody wants to work with somebody that you don't like. We've all been
Hmm.
there, done that.
Right.
And so getting to know somebody on a human level, getting to know, like, what do we have in common? Like, how can we complement each other? That'll come in time. But
Hmm.
if you go in just focusing on getting to know them as a person, the rest will
Hmm.
fall into place. And I think that a lot of the business stuff will sort of fall out eventually. Or I don't know if that's the right word, but
Right.
it'll trickle out.
I, that's a good point. I would say when you're networking and connecting with people, I actually never aim to talk about myself. I go into it like I want to learn about them. I'm going to ask about their business. I want to get to know this person and aim to find that common interest. You'll find a common interest with everyone you interact with. Like, we're just human and we are
Absolutely.
multifaceted. Like, you will find something if you start asking. Um, so what naturally happens is someone is if they're interested in you, which most people are, they will start to ask about you as well. And then that's the point where you can start talking about what you do. right?
Absolutely.
And then it's more natural and it's their curiosity, and you can have a better, more meaningful conversation as a result. So even I do that in
Right.
person with networking, um, or even online. Like, don't send a DM like, this is what I do, these are my services, let me know if you're interested, right? Like, I
They'll
got
let you
that DM
know.
this morning.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. So it's start asking, be really curious, go in that mindset, and people will naturally be curious back. And if they're not, then like, don't waste your time. Like, you don't, you know. I mean, that sounds so like
Absolutely.
blunt, but then you're not wasting your time sending that message, right? Like, like, this person's not interesting in going further.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of making me think as you're talking. I think that um, if you start by asking about them, right, you
Hmm.
learn a little bit about them. And then when it's your turn to talk about you now have all of this incredible data and incredible information. So you can still continue to tie your story and your responses back to them in a way that actually gets
Hmm.
their attention. So, like, by making it about them, you're actually creating an avenue for the conversation to go so much better and be such a more valuable experience for both of you because you've learned
Right,
a little bit about them.
right, right. And I this is okay. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. But when you're thinking about networking, and I got this question from someone too, so I want to make sure
Hmm.
to answer it. Like, when you're in person networking and you're getting to know people, you're having conversations, and you're asking these questions, try to take a mental note, right? Write it down afterwards if you have to. Put it in your phone. Make a connection. Like, maybe you're like, Anne liked greens or something. I don't know. Like, you just, and try to connect it with something that you know, so that later on, if you are like, okay, I really like this person, I want to keep in touch, you now know something about them to keep a personalized reach out and follow up for later on. So we can chat about that. I have a feeling I jumped the gun on following up, um, but when you ask these questions, you are curious and you learn things, whether it's online or in person, you can use that information that they're giving you to reach out and have conversations later and start building a relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I know that, and I love that, and I think that's a great segue. I know that when I talk to a lot of my customers, even at work, even though I'm not
Mm-hmm.
the salesperson in charge, whenever they tell me about their dogs, like, I'm a dog person. I love dogs. So
Right.
that's one of the things that I always make a note of. And it just makes it so that, the 2 times a year that I have to call them, when I check back in and say, "How's Murphy?" They're like, "I cannot believe you remember that. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
been so long since we talked about it." And right there, like, it just breaks the ice and it starts to thaw them out. So when we do start to segue
Mm-hmm.
into that sales conversation, I've already warmed them up. They're already opening up to me. They're already talking. So I think it's really
Right.
powerful to remember the little details.
Right. Yeah, I think of the situation. I had met someone. Um, I saw her ring. I always noticed jewelry since I worked in fine jewelry, and I
Right.
was like, "Gosh, your ring is so beautiful." And she went, "Oh my gosh, well, I just got engaged." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, tell me the story. Tell me all about it." And so she was
Right.
like, absolutely beautiful, amazing story. And we had this whole conversation about how she got engaged and when she's getting married and how she had found the one and this ring. And it was just like such a little observation, right? And so later
Absolutely.
on, I was asked to attend a company function. And so I had brought a friend. And the first thing
Hmm.
I introduced my friend and I said, okay, you have to look at her ring. It's so beautiful. She just got engaged. And it was like one of those little things that I had just remembered about her. And she was like,
Right.
wow, like she remembered, and I had only met this person once. And
Right.
so, remembering details about people shows them that you were genuinely interested, that you are authentic, that you are thorough, that you're detailed. It's not like you have to remember their whole life story, but I think if you can remember
Right.
one good personal detail about someone, it can go such a long way when it comes to selling and sales. Um,
Absolutely.
Especially dogs, like you said. I don't know what it is about like pets, but it just like
Oh, yeah.
pet parents like love like when you like acknowledge their children. Like you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And like anybody who refers to themselves as a pet parent, like if that's something that you're passionate about, please do yourself a favor and remember it because it is the easiest opener ever. I know anytime anyone asks me about Meatball, Like,
Mm-hmm.
I find any way to talk about him. So anytime anyone asks me about him, I'm so excited. And it just like, it lights me up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really just opening up the person to sort of feel energized and want to be a part of that conversation. So
Right.
I think too often, like in our heads when we're selling or when we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
sales, we like to tell ourselves that it's going to be hard and it's difficult and
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to be there. But if you create an environment simply by asking questions about them that invites them to want to be there and that invites
Mm-hmm.
you to want to be there, it sort of opens both of you up for that sales conversation to be 10 times easier than it would have been.
Right, right. I think about too as a store manager, and I'm going to relate this to online as well, since I know that
Hmm.
that will come forth. I really wanted to get to know the stores next to me so that if anything came up, I could rely on them. And that's a form of networking too. So I would like personally
Right.
walk in with some business cards and I'd say, I'm Rachel, I'm the store manager of this location. Like I'm next to you. Like I just wanted to come say hi.
Right.
And
I love that.
and what's your name? And I would love to like, do you have a card? Like that way we can stay in connection and be like, how is your holiday season going so far or something like that? Is there anything I can do to help you? And then that way we build a connection. So when I see them in passing by or I need something, I can reach out to them. So I would say
Right.
like in the online space, don't be afraid to reach out to those close to you. Don't be afraid to just check in and be like, hey, I'm really just here to say hello. How are you? How are you doing? How's your holiday? Like
Right.
holidays are coming up, you guys. Like I have not accepted this yet. I'm still in denial, but
Oh
it's
my God, I know.
Thanksgiving is in 3 weeks for the US at least. But anyways, like I think it's just it, like don't be afraid to connect with those that do something similar to you. Like that's how you find a biz bestie. That's how you build connections, and they're not your competitors. Like
Right.
okay, I could go off on that, and I'm gonna say one thing: everyone is your competitor. Everyone, because someone can
Hmm.
choose to spend the money that they would have spent with you on anything else, whether that's a vacation,
Right.
whether that's new clothes, a pet, something in their house. So don't look at someone who does exactly what you do as a competitor. Get to know them, connect with them,
Hmm.
build a network, build a community. You never know how you're going to help each other.
Absolutely. I mean, like one of my other really good friends in this online space is she helps authors like build their book business. So,
Cool. Yeah.
like, as somebody who talks about mindset and conversation and communication and inner dialogue, like, what business did I really have talking to somebody who helps authors build their business?
Mm-hmm.
None, really, if you think about it. But I ended up taking her course, learned how to write a ton, which is super
Mm-hmm.
important. And then I also ended up getting connected to not just my current business coaches through her, but other coaches that came out of working with those business coaches that have literally changed my life and changed my business for the better. What if I had never talked to this author coach? You literally
Right.
never know what opportunities can come about. Like they're just there's so much opportunity for each of us to work together. And at the end of the day, even if somebody is completely in a different niche, we all share a human experience. We're all more alike than
Right.
different. And so you literally never know what can come out of just talking to somebody that's really fun to talk to.
Right. I love that. An author. That's not someone that you're not like writing a book. It's not someone that you
Right.
expected. And the same is said on online space. Just because you don't need their help doesn't mean that they can't help you or it can't be a rewarding relationship. People are people. Like who doesn't
Absolutely.
want more people in their network? I mean, it's not like you have to keep up with them 24/7. It's not like you're
Right.
inviting them over. It's just, hey, how are you? Like it makes people feel so thought of and so seen, and that reputation is what you're really building, is the feeling that you give
Absolutely.
to the people that are in your circle, and it's how
Absolutely.
people speak of you when you're not in the room, and I think that those impressions really matter.
Absolutely. I mean, so yeah, I love that. Sorry, I just got so
No,
excited.
this I know this
uh,
conversation has, I hopefully, everyone's you've taken something from this, that you can use and inspire you to want to reach out to people. um you just like literally never know. Like I think, some things that have come out of networking, like, I've been invited on a podcast before.
Right.
That's a completely new audience. Like this was not someone that I had planned to work with, but I was
Right.
invited and now I'm open up to their audience. We never know who's listening to their podcast that's going to hear about me and now want to connect with me and, vice versa. I was invited to a fundraiser of business owners. Like I never would have reached otherwise, right? I
Right.
was asked to create a program with someone in an
Love
area that
that.
I never would have thought that I would create a program in, right? And like giving back to the community. I've become friends with people like you, right?
Right.
And friendship is a powerful thing, and it can be really hard to meet people as an adult. You're not in school, you're not in things, you're at home,
Right.
right? Um, you can find future business clients and get referrals from people. How many, everyone's always like so surprised, but when I network with people, I really try to like understand what they do. And I think of
Right.
who I know that could benefit, and then I connect them. And that might take 6 months or a year. But they're always like,
Absolutely.
wow, like I can't believe this actually paid off, right? So like just
Absolutely.
connecting, you never know who you can refer or who they're gonna refer to you based on how you make people
Right.
feel. So really like there's so many just like positive benefits of networking and meeting people.
Absolutely. And it's just unreal. Like even in person, whenever I meet people, you literally never know like who down the line might be able
Mm-hmm.
to help you. And again, I want to tie this back to what we were talking about in the beginning is, you don't want to go into a conversation thinking, how can this person help me? How can they make my life
Right.
easier? But you do want to keep an open mind and not shut people out just because they're not in your niche or they're not in your um specific
Right.
like ideal audience. Like who cares? Just let the conversation flow. Enjoy like being a human and connecting with that person and just let it be. I mean, especially for those of you who are just starting out in your business, I cannot stress this enough. Building
Mm,
relationships is so crucial. I don't know about you, H, but I have, well, I do know about you, but I have changed my niche 5,000 times. Like
mm,
my ideal client when I first started this business was I wanted to teach people fitness. I'm now talking about conversations and communication. If I had shut
mm-hmm.
people out like back then because they weren't looking for fitness services, I would have missed out on so much business. I would have missed out on so many people, and I would have missed out on
Right.
so many opportunities to connect with people. Like, don't shut people
Right.
out.
People want to support people. Um, and there's nothing worse that, so I love this quote, and I think you'll agree. It takes every day to build your reputation, and like years, but it takes seconds to destroy it. And I think the quickest way that you will ever destroy your reputation is if you're kind only for the sale. And once you realize that they cannot benefit you, you stop communication and you go cold and you stop responding, you stop checking in, you stop being nice. People
Wow.
feel that and they are not going
Yeah.
to reach out to you later. They are not going to recommend you. They are not going to believe you and support you. And so, like life happens. Like sometimes we read things, we forget to reply. Like, I know I've done that. You've done that. Like, it just is inevitable. But
Right.
be the person you were at the beginning through the whole way through, and people will feel that and see that. I get told often, like, you are like one of the most genuine people I know. It's because I try to just treat everyone like they're my best friend. Like, think about
Right.
like your friends. Like, you don't go cold on them unless they did you wrong, maybe. Like, that's a
Right.
different story.
Right.
But like to really like build a relationship with people and to network and connect, you really have to put in effort. It's maintenance. It's
Absolutely.
not just like, oh, I sent them a hello message. Like we're friends now. We have a relationship. We're following each other. We exchange contact information. Like that's not a relationship
Right.
at all.
Right.
Though when you are connecting and networking in person, you should definitely make sure you walk away with contact information. But
Absolutely.
if anyone has questions about that and what to ask for and the best ways, like definitely reach out. But um, it's just yeah, I don't know where I was going with this, but
It's all
I
good.
know
We're so passionate about this, so
yeah,
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, I think one thing that I really want to touch on is, even like Rachel and I currently our businesses don't necessarily overlap, right? Like you're
Mm-mm.
focusing more on retail and I'm focusing more on communication. But even though like that's the case right now, I know that like if somebody in my network was building a store, opening up a store, or looking for a retail coach, the first person that's gonna pop into my head to say you need to reach out to my friend Rachel, like who
Mm-hmm.
else would I think of? You are the top of my mind when I think of sales because I know you're genuine, I know you care, I know how you work. And I'm
Right.
hopefully the same for me when you're talking to somebody who's looking for support around communication and networking and conversation, you would refer them to me.
Right.
And so just keep that in mind, guys. Like when you're having conversations with people, you want to protect your reputation, not just towards potential people that
Right.
can work with you, but also people that might refer you. It's so important.
Right. So here's a good little hack I'm going to share with you about networking.
Hmm.
And I think this will be a good place to end it.
Yeah.
When I think about networking, okay, so we don't talk about this a lot in the online space. Body language is very important. It makes up 55% of communication, right? The words we use actually make up like 37%. It's not as much as you think. So body
Right.
language means your appearance, your eye contact, your posture, like how, how well you stand, the way you
Right.
move your hands and stuff like that. So if you are doing in-person networking, or even like right now, your
Right.
appearance matters. Like make sure that you look put together because people are
Right.
paying attention, whether we like to admit it or not, right? It doesn't matter what's on the second half, right? Especially like right now, but you want to look presentable. You want to look nice, right?
Right.
And then I there's three different things that I would say. Like always make sure that you have your contact information ready because you never know where you're going to need that. Whether it's a
Right.
business card or a QR code is a really great way to put on your business card for people to find you quick.
Right.
I know my business coach told me about this really cool digital app that's a
Hmm.
business card. So all they have to do is scan my phone and my information quite literally gets into their contact list with my
Wow.
image and all of my information, like what I do, how to find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, my website, my email, my phone number, everything I want them to have, basically.
Ooh, I'm
So
gonna
I'm
have
in
to
their
get that from
contact list.
you.
Yes, yes. Okay. So then you are, having these conversations with people, you're getting to know them, you're being really curious, you're asking questions, and then, they're going to give you, most likely, most people have a physical business card. So you can take that and then maybe like take a moment and write on the back of it, because most of them are blank, a quick note about them, because I promise you, you will not remember when you are connecting with so many people, right? Or maybe,
Hmm.
gosh, sorry, talking in my head so much, my AirPods fell out.
All good.
Body language, right? Moving your
Right.
hand. And or like put it in your phone, put it somewhere you can remember, or tell yourself a story that you'll remember about them, right? Like we talked about this
Right.
at the beginning. And then follow up the next day. Send an email, send a text, figure out how they want to communicate and say, it was so nice to meet you. I enjoyed learning about you, and put in that personal detail and say, I hope to connect with you more in the future. Sign your name, right?
Love it.
And if they respond, you've now started building a connection with someone. And the people who don't respond always it's interesting to me. It's like, why would you not just take the time to say, oh, it was so nice to meet you, right? But the people who don't respond, I'm never going to recommend, because now like they are not interested in proceeding further, right? And
Right.
it's again, it's not always about making a sale, but
Right.
it's building your network of people, like just like your followers that you have, your community that you have, and
Right.
I'm less likely to want to get their help when I need it too, because they don't come across as being warm and friendly. And there's probably so many reasons why they don't reply. Maybe it went to spam, maybe
Right.
they are scared of communicating. Like it can be really hard for people. I get it.
Right.
Um, but the people that have responded to me, I've had coffee chats with, I've gone to fundraiser events, I've connected with them on a further level. They have taken more interest in me. The doors have opened, like the podcast, right? Like that I was
Right.
on. And so it literally takes 5 seconds to reply, and just reply. That's it. So if,
Absolutely.
and then,
Even if like to reply, all you
mhm,
want to say is like, no, like I can't work together right now. At least like close that loop, like
right.
just get back to people. It's so easy.
It so is. And then
Sorry, I
I would
had to
say,
mention
no, no, no,
that.
no, it is easy. And you, response is really important because it told
Yeah,
me if you can't take the time to respond to me, like, how do you run your business? Like, I hate to say that, but it's
right,
true. And
right.
I'm gonna add this too, and I want to go back to this, but if you are in-person networking, do not have your phone out. Put it away, turn it off, unless you're using it for your business card. Do not stand there and be
Right.
texting people. People are watching,
Yeah.
okay?
So
Um,
important.
but I would say, we had this conversation. I had this conversation with someone last night about online. Is like when
Hmm.
people are kind of rude back, people feel that.
Yeah.
If you are mean back in the DMs, it tells me how do you really treat your customers? And your
Yeah.
business probably isn't doing that well because if you
Right.
can't treat people nice that you don't know, your customer experience isn't very good. So
Right.
remember that in the way that you interact in your impressions, it says a lot about how you run your business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like one of my rules of thumb is like, I'm a human. Like I get moody. There are days when I just
Right,
really don't want to talk to anyone. And in person, you don't really, if you're face to face with somebody, you don't really necessarily have the opportunity to like not answer them. Like you kind of have
right.
to respond.
Sure.
But the beautiful thing about the online space is you get to answer on your terms. So
Right?
if your energy is not part of that conversation, wait. You can answer tomorrow when you're in a better mood.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and so where I was going with that is like my number one rule for myself is I only respond when my energy is behind that conversation. And like I know that I'm a pretty high energy person. I'm pretty happy. So within 24 hours to 48 hours maximum, I'm gonna get back to that person. But
Right.
I don't need to answer right now when I'm in a mood, and neither do you guys. Like it's okay to give
Hmm.
yourself a break, but like Rachel was saying, like people can feel when you're giving them one word answers or when you're being rude or when you're just not really present, you know? So answer when you can be present.
Yeah. I had a wonderful conversation with someone yesterday. It led with so many questions on their part. Like, tell me about what you do. I want to know more. Like, how did you get started? What do you mean by a
Hmm.
retail sales coach? It just made like such a good conversation. They asked me so many questions that I was like, wow, like this person's
Right,
good. Like they want to know about me. And then I flipped the
right,
switch and I started asking questions about them. And they were like, geez, like I didn't expect them to ask me questions.
right.
Um, and a 15-minute conversation became a 30. So it was a great conversation. And I think that they're more fruitful and meaningful, and you enrich your life by having conversations with people. So
Absolutely.
don't make the mistake of networking being that you are simply networking to make a sale. Network to get to know people and learn and be curious because you learn so much. Maybe you'll
Love
learn
it.
something in your business. So that's my big takeaway is networking is meant to meet people and to connect. It is not to make a sale, at least immediately.
Absolutely. I love that. That is a great place to leave this off. I cannot believe we've been talking for almost 45 minutes.
Me
Well,
neither.
actually I can because this is pretty much us. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but we did good. We kept it kind of short. Um,
For us, yes.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, how can people work with you? How can they get in touch with you? Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on right now.
Yeah. So, being that I'm a sales coach, I love to start with consulting. So, if you are interested in working together, reach out. We'll start with an audit of your business and find out where your opportunities are and your strengths. I do really love to work with product based brick and mortar stores or that have teams, right? So, if you are online, that's okay too. I have experience with that as well. And so we'll start with auditing, finding out what's happening. And then from there, we can come up with training and strategies that we can do to help your team. So if you are interested, definitely like reach out, come say hello. It's again, like I'm literally not all about the sale. I just love connecting with people and learning about others. So come say hello. You can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn is where I tend to be. And
Hmm.
yeah, so
I love
if
it.
you're in Seattle, let's meet. I'm meeting someone tonight. I'm excited that I met from Instagram. So,
Oh, yay. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
go connect with Rachel. She has the biggest heart and
Oh,
so
thank
much
you.
knowledge to share. Her Instagram is full of just hot tips. I learn a lot about sales just from looking at her content. But
Thank
just,
you.
go reach out, make a new friend. She is incredible. And if you are having a great conversation, she can become a great part of your network. So you can't lose.
Yes. Oh, I could say the same about you as well. It's definitely,
Aw,
Stephanie, you're a very motivating person. And so if you ever just need a little positive uplift, like when you wake up in the morning, Stephanie is an amazing person to follow as well and connect
aw,
with. And you are very genuine with your community as well. So it goes
aw.
both ways. So
Thank you. All right, guys. Have an amazing rest of is it Thursday already? Oh my goodness. Have an
yeah.
amazing Thursday. Have an amazing weekend. And thanks for tuning in.
Yes, thank
Bye.
you everyone. Bye.
Bye.